Good morning, afternoon, and evening, guys. We are back with another random tier list. Today we are diving back into one of my favorite games, Call of Duty Warzone, specifically the new Call of Duty, so I suppose we're in Call of Duty Vanguard. We're going to be talking about Vanguard guns today, and I'm going to show you guys, and this is probably common knowledge, but if you are newer to Call of Duty, maybe you got Vanguard for Christmas, or maybe you've been out of the game for a little bit, like I actually have been. I didn't play in the kind of second half of the year. This is a fantastic tool that I'm going to show you guys today where I'm getting all my info from there. This is not made up by me. So if you're here because you think I'm a savant and I'm going to tell you a perfect anti-meta rogue strategy for doing well in Warzone, sorry, not what I'm about. I'm going to show you guys a tool which will basically show you how to know what guns are the best in Warzone. And obviously you'll have to see what you're good with, what works with your playstyle, and some of this is based on usage, so there may be some situations where some of these guns are inflated or deflated the amount of times people are using them, or how good they actually are. But I'll address that as I go with every gun. So we're going to be going ahead doing this tier list, guys. If you appreciate tier lists like this, I'm trying something a little bit different here. This and my Pokemon videos lately, where I'm trying to relay information that I think could be helpful for people in a digestible format. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Also, let me know on quality of this using OBS now. So hopefully this is better than the old software I was using. With all that said, guys, let's dive into it. We have all the guns right here, and I'm actually going to click away from this. And we're going to go here to this website right here. You guys can see it up at the top there. warzonerank.com/loadouts, or actually if we just go to warzonerank.com, I think it just takes us straight here. This is a website that you guys want to know about. Alright, so if you play Warzone, you have to know this website. You have to know about this one, okay? If you guys go here, you will see the gun usage of literally every gun in the game. You can see the number one used gun right now is the MP40 from Vanguard. You see VG right there. You can see it's an SMG. 10%, over 10% of all players are using it, and all players that use it have a combined 1.16 KD, which is over 1.0. That means, on average, by using an MP40, the average player will kill more players than they get killed by, which is a very, very good ratio for a gun to have. Shows you that that's what the people who are good at the game are probably using. And you can sort this by primary weapons, secondary weapons. You can sort it by weapon type, so I can go here and sort by shotguns if I want to. Looks like nobody's really using shotguns right now. Big surprise there. Sniper rifles, we can see the domination of the Swiss right here. Right, so we can do this by each type of gun that we want to do. Alright, and that's where a lot of my rankings come from today. So today we're going to be sorting by Vanguard, and we are going to be sorting by all types here, and we are going to be sorting by pick ratio. If you wanted to, you could also sort by KD, which actually has the double barrel shotgun as the highest gun, even though only 0.4% of people are picking it. So we'll talk about that. But usually you're going to want to sort by pick ratio here, by most popular. Alright, and that's what we're going to be doing. So I'll have a link to this website in the description of this video. You can go play with all this. I highly recommend it. Another thing you can do here is you can also click on the gun and it'll tell you the attachments of the gun and what are the most popular attachments. You can see that 43% of people who are using the MP40 are using the recoil booster. 61% are using the Krosnick 317mm. Right? Over half the players are using the slate reflector. So it looks like there is definitely a consensus on most of the attachments that you would want to use on your MP40 in Warzone. And specifically, this is Warzone, guys. So I'm not sure how this is in regarded to other Battle Royale formats. And this is not specifically for, like, Vanguard multiplayer. Okay, so this is just for Warzone. So I'll have this linked in the comment section. We're going to go ahead and go back to the tier list here. And here we have basically the meta. I've taken a look at all of the stats for you guys. You can double check them and see if you disagree with me on anything. But I've sorted them out through top tier meta. We have a meta viable tier, a meta viable secondary tier, a potentially viable tier, a situational tier. We have melee memes because honestly all the melee weapons are just memes anyway. I mean, if you want a melee weapon, I know people who do drop in with a melee weapon on their ghost classes or on their non-overkill classes so that they do have that increased movement speed. If that is, your goal there, then I suppose that you go right ahead. But for most of us, the melee weapons are just going to be memes here. And then finally, we have not viable. And as you guys can see, there are a lot of guns in here that are, in fact, not viable. Obviously, any gun you can get a kill with if you point it at somebody and shoot, and they don't shoot back. But we're looking at these guns being not viable because there's just a better option. And this is only taking into account Vanguard guns. There are obviously other guns in the game. So if you're playing in a format where those games are legal, then obviously you may have some other options there, such as the Swiss Cold War gun, right? So that would be obviously better because it's the most used sniper rifle in the game. So the absolute meta guns right now, guys, is going to be the MP40. It's the most used gun in the game. So you have that SMG. As far as assault rifles go, you have the STG-44 AR, and then you also have at the end here the Cooper AR. Now it's worth mentioning that the Cooper was the Season 1 gun, one of the unlockable Season 1 guns, so that being a new gun probably did increase its usage a bit. Though if I recall, if we look up here, we're going to sort by ARs. Sort by ARs and sort by Vanguard. The KD ratio of the Cooper carbine is actually better than the STG. So what that tells me is the Cooper carbine may potentially require a higher skill level than the STG, or the fact that the STG is the first AR you get, that could actually be lowering the KD. So this pick ratio may be inflated because it's one of the easiest guns in the game to get. So just keep that in mind when you are comparing these two ARs, the STG and the Cooper. But this does look like the meta right here, right now. We have the MP40, the STG-44, the Cooper AR, and then the Bren LMG is really the only LMG that people are using right now. If you need something with some heavy fire, heavy support for your teammates, go ahead and go with that Bren. Down here in meta viable, we have three more guns. We have the PPSH-41, we have which is a submachine gun. We have the Bar assault rifle and the Automaton assault rifle. I love saying that, Automaton. I'm probably saying it wrong. Somebody let me know. With the PPSH, if we look again here at our usage rates, it's the only thing other than the MP40 that's over a 1% usage. So we can see obviously a huge difference there in the amount that these guns are being used, which obviously goes to show how just dominant the MP40 has been, right? But we can take a look at that and we can see that there is another option. It might not be the best option, but I would say it's a viable option. It's also worth mentioning that the PPSH here is a unlockable at... It's an unlocked gun, right? So you unlock it at level 51, which is one of the highest unlocked guns, at least for primaries. So the MP40 you start the game out with, and it's fantastic. But the PPSH, so many people are using it even over these guns that you get earlier, that tells me that PPSH is actually a viable gun. So that would be my opinion on the matter. And then going further into the Bar and the Automaton, taking a look at these ARs. The Bar here, 3% usage, more than what we were just talking about with the PPSH. That one is just kind of the third tier, right? And then you also have the Automaton here. And I think the Automaton, despite the fact that it has a lower pick ratio than the Bar, we have a similar thing here where it has a higher KD percentage, right? We were talking about that earlier. So potentially some better players using this, potentially... the Bar is actually unlocked later, so you could argue those. I think both of them are viable. Assault rifles are... Well, I'd say it's hard to be bad with an assault rifle, but these four are definitely in a different class than the top four. So those two, I would say, would be meta viable. Next, guys, we have right here the meta viable secondaries, and these are just honestly just the three handguns that you get the quickest. The Rat, which you start the game with, the Top Break you unlock on level 12, and the 1911 you unlock at level 23. Those are the most meta viable secondary guns. And when I say meta viable for the secondary, it's like if you don't want to run overkill, if you want to run something with just one primary, then you have to use one of these. You could use a launcher, or you could use a melee weapon instead. But if we look at the usage for secondary weapons, and we're going to sort by Vanguard, you guys can see that it's these three handguns. These three are the only one over 5%. So you can see just people are picking these guns to use as their secondary. Now, whether or not they're actually using them or if they're immediately dropping them for a floor loot gun, that's another story. But they are at least picking them in their loadouts. And the KDs do reflect these being not bad. You can also see the fighting knife having a pretty good KD here, and as well as the sawtooth having a good one too. So I did put those in melee memes, but something to keep in mind that on general the fighting knife has a much better KD than the well, of course it does, than the shield, right? And then the katana KD not available, right? So 1911, Top Break, and Rat are the most used secondary guns, so I suppose they are meta viable, but of course they're also handguns, so use at your own risk. Next tier here is potentially viable. In my potentially viable tier, we have the Kar 98 rifle. This is the only marksman rifle or sniper rifle in Vanguard that is worth anything, at least in terms of usage. If we look at Vanguard here again, and we're looking down to sniper, it's at 1.57%. That's what that says. It's the only one with a viable KD ratio, and 0.9 is not even that much better than 0.83, but it's better, right? So none of these other snipers are really doing much. If we look at the rifle category, it's even worse. Literally the best rifle in Vanguard is used less than 0.2% of the time. So definitely not some guns you want to use. I mean, obviously use whatever you want for fun. But if we're talking about meta, we're talking about things that are actually used, not that. By comparison, if we look at all games, you can see that Kar 98 for Modern Warfare is used 7% of the time, which is a huge jump from the SPR for Modern Warfare, and then you get to the Garand. Similar thing for sniper rifles here. We see the Swiss is used almost 6% of the time, and then a pretty big drop down here to the Kar 98 from Vanguard, and then again a bit of a drop to the HDR from Modern Warfare. So definitely not sure you should be using a Vanguard sniper rifle or rifle, but if that is your option, if that is what you need to do, then the Kar 98 is going to be potentially viable for you. It is your best option. We also have here the Type 100 SMG and the AS-44 assault rifle. I think both of these are sleeper picks, so these are my, I don't know how sleeper this is, but these would be my two biggest sleeper pick options for you guys. And the reason for that, we can see if we rank by, let's do the assault rifle first. If we rank by assault rifles here, we can see that the AS-44, despite the fact that less than 1% of people use it, it actually has the highest KD amongst all assault rifles. And it is unlocked at level 33, so not super late, but definitely not super early either. So the AS-44 there, I think, could be a good option for you. If you are looking for a rogue option in the meta, the AS-44 may be able to get the job done. The other gun that we wanted to look at was the SMG, the Type 100. And we do see a similar thing here, where despite the fact that it is picked less than 1% of the time, the Type 100 has a over 1 KD. Has gone down a little bit. Can we see how much? No, we can't. It has gone down a little bit lately. But 1.04 is just, well, I mean, obviously 1.16 is higher, but the Type 100 is the second most, second highest KD amongst SMGs. And it is unlocked a little bit later at level 39. So that could explain a little bit of the lower usage. Since there are a lot of people just getting the game, especially in the last couple of weeks for Christmas and, later of the year presents, saving up money, whatever, kids. As we go back to the list here, we have a situational tier. I think these guns can definitely be used for something, but they're not really going to be your first option. They could be memes, or could be considered memes. The first one is that double barrel shotgun, which we talked about before, having a really high KD. It actually has the highest KD in the game of any gun. And that's because when you point it at somebody and they're in front of you and you shoot, they die. Which makes sense. But if you miss, you die. So the people who are really good with that can definitely run with that, maybe in a niche overkill option there. We see a similar thing also with machine pistol here, if I recall correctly. If we switch back here to Vanguard, and we're going to switch to, I said secondary weapons, so let me see the machine pistol. I just went over it twice. Yeah, the machine pistol actually has a pretty good KD ratio, and the usage isn't that much lower than the Rat. So I think the machine pistol is, it's situational. I think we could maybe put it up here and potentially viable, but it's definitely between here. Same kind of argument as for the machine pistol than I had for the other handguns up there. And we also have the bazooka, which if we look at launchers, it's the only... Why can't I? Secondary weapon, all types, AR, SMG. Can I not sort by launchers? I suppose I can't sort by launchers. But if you look at it, it's the only launcher, or it is the highest usage amongst launchers. I suppose it does also have a lower KD than the Panzerfaust and the Panzerschreck. So I guess with launcher, use what you want. But the one with the highest usage is the bazooka, though it is also the first one you get, so I might have overlooked something there. But yeah, that's why I put that there. Then we have the 4 melee weapons, meme weapons. As we said, the fighting knife does actually have a decent KD. So if you want to use that as your secondary over a handgun, I mean, more power to you. The katana, those stats are not available yet. Can we see, actually, what is the... I did not look at the riot shield. At what the... 0.08%, yeah. I wouldn't use the shield, but I guess if you're trying to do a turtle challenge, you can do that. And then underneath here, we have pretty much all the other guns. Like I said, any gun can kill somebody, but all of these guns are pretty much outclassed 1-to-1 by other guns, when put up against each other. The exceptions, perhaps, we could put the other launchers up here in situational. A launcher is definitely going to be able to blow somebody up. As long as it is better than the Cold War Sigma, of course. So that's tier list, guys. Let me know what you think. Tried something a little bit different for this one. Definitely not claiming any of this info that I'm getting from Warzone Ranked is my own info. That's linked down in the description down below. If you're not using that already, if you didn't know about that, definitely get on that. Don't worry about watching my tier list for info. You're going to get far more info from there, honestly. That's why I don't do just Call of Duty info. I do variety. So, yeah. And if you do like these types of videos, guys, random tier lists every single day about different stuff you may want to know about or just joke around about. I think I did a rock tier list last week, so that was pretty fun. Definitely subscribe to the channel. A lot of my viewers are not subscribed, so that means a lot if you do press that button. And with that said, guys, let me know what you want to see for a video tomorrow. Got some queued up, but need some advice too. With all that said, guys, I already said that, didn't I? Let's say it again. With all that said, guys, this has been the guy who makes random tier lists, and I'm signing.